I feel like we've turned this show into a design leadership conference, didn't we? No, this
That's
is
where it
really
started,
amazing.
right? That's the root of everything when you think about it.
Yeah,
So
this is really amazing because as a founder, I so enjoy what you're, you know, what you're raising here because it informs people who are kind of looking at things in a bird's eye view to look to maybe stop for a while and not do what they've always done.
yeah,
Because I feel like obviously people are, they feel better, they feel more secure doing what they've always done, doing what's worked. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're asking this, then maybe you should be improving as well, which leads me to talk about maybe or sort of like more of a verdict. Okay, so what do you think? Are some companies shooting out of their leagues when they hire designers and they want it all? What do you think?
I think yes. I think if you truly wanted a full stack designer, you are going to have to pay like 400K or 500K for the perfect designer that they have in their mind, right? The person that
Yeah,
does
that's
everything.
that's kind of a two-person job, to be honest, full stack, right? Well,
I would say 5-person job, right? Because it's like
person,
people
right?
management, it's documentation as
Yeah.
well. It's once again working with developers, setting infrastructure for them if there's no design team at all. It's setting up a design system, right? It's really kind of doing other side projects too that comes in with the role. So for example, we have this thing called user flow at my company, and the VP of product wants me to do this project because we spending like a lot of money on it, like a month, and he wants me to do this project where I'm taking advantage of user flow so they can cut down on tickets within support. So now I have to kind of go in there and learn user flow and debug it, right? And create user journeys for different customers that's coming to the platform for different scenarios. So now you have that miscellaneous stuff as well that designers have to do. So yes, they are. Just to answer your question. Yes.
All right, companies, pay attention to it. If you're hiring for a designer that knows everything, you better be a very mature design organization. Now, what about from the junior designer side? Because when they're interviewing, maybe after they listen to this episode, they're like, wow, I better be looking for a really good organization. How can I find out though? It's definitely not in the job description that, oh, we're mature. They're not going to say that, right? They're going to say, yeah, we're brilliant. Everything, it's great. But how do you think they can find out the real deal?
Man, first and foremost, just go on LinkedIn. That's all you need to do.
Oh,
Go
really?
to
How?
LinkedIn, go to the company's profile, go to
Mhm.
people, type in product designer. If you're on a
Yeah.
mobile app, it already has like this. I don't know why they don't have it on the desktop, but they have this section when you click on people, right? These are all the people that work in arts and design. So you can see like the
Oh,
maturity of that team. And
right, right.
then a company,
Mhm.
if they're really good, like super good, like
Mhm.
I've even seen some startups with this. They have their own design blog, right? They have their own
Mhm.
stuff like Figma today. They had in Figma community,
Mhm.
which is expected when you think about it. I
Right.
actually found this out. In their job postings, if you go to Figma, they have
Uh-huh.
like a lot of links to the way that their design team works and like their beliefs and all of that within Figma, which is super cool. Other companies have their own blog as well where you can see them working. So in my opinion, that's kind of a sign of maturity because they're being open
Yeah,
about the process, right?
that's a
Open
really good
about their
point.
stuff. I, I
I found Airbnb has a really good blog, right?
yeah,
Their design
yeah.
team is super mature, and then also Spotify as well. They have a whole publication. Yeah, that's actually really good to know. I mean, those I would say they tend to be in bigger tech companies, obviously. What about if you're interviewing for a smaller one, a medium sized one? They may not have that, but that doesn't mean they're not mature, right? Is there anything else?
So I want to be honest and very transparent. A lot of the Spotify's, the LinkedIn's, they're not necessarily going to be looking for junior talent because they just want to hire senior people.
Yeah.
And even the smaller organizations, just that's just starting out, a lot of them are not going to be at that maturity. So the thing that I would recommend to a lot of people, because I know a lot of juniors, they're going to be anxious, right? And they want to break in and they just want to get their start and get their foot in the door, which is understandable. And a lot of times it is going to be at an organization where they're not going to get the support that they need, unfortunately. Um, so I would say this I would say that they need to probably find a career coach they probably need to start building their network up and probably start building their skills. So for product design, definitely, I think versus all of the other archetypes, you can start building up your visual skills because it helps out a lot. So putting it, in the feature section, right, of your LinkedIn profile, constantly going to events and building relationships, like meaningful relationships with people that work at these companies, right? That's only hiring senior talent, but every now and then a junior role might open. And matter of fact, I'll say this. I actually came across, I'm not going to say this company's name, but Stella, I'll share it with you after the call. But there was a great company where this guy told me that he had like over 30 senior product designers, and now he's pushing his team to just focus on hiring junior and mid-level people, right?
Oh,
And it's
uh-huh.
it's not like I mean, he put out a post out there on LinkedIn, but still, it's not like he communicated that to the world. Like, he is really strict about it, by the way. He's like, I don't want to hire any more senior or principal people at all. We need to hire more and more junior people to come
Interesting.
into our organization. And every now and then you'll find different windows that open up like that, so you can go in
Uh-huh.
places where they want to build. He also told me this, which is interesting, but we want to pair a junior and mid-level designer with principal
Oh, that's
designers,
that's
the people,
amazing.
yeah, that want to go into leadership so they can work on X, Y, and Z, which is super great. But once again, you might not know that if you're just applying to every job, you're not speaking with anyone. So you have to
Right.
build these meaningful relationships, and you have to show people that you also have a good body of work so you can stand out as well. So I just think that with junior product designers, even though they're listening to this call, I just know, and once again, it's human nature, right? We're all human. That a lot of them are not going to ask these tough questions when they're interviewing for an organization because they don't want to. They're thinking psychologically, oh, I don't want to rub this person the wrong way, or I don't want to make this person make it seem like I'm being a hard ass or something, right? But a lot of questions you can ask, and this is what I ask, and this is what I want to give to everyone because. Once again, and this is going to be a reoccurring thing as well, but I do want to share industry secrets. I do want to share things to people that's listening to this to be successful. I don't want to hide anything like other people are doing. So
That's
you
the
can ask
point.
the manager. Yeah,
Design uncensored. I love that. Yeah.
you're definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off. Go
No,
on.
no, no. That's okay. That's okay.
Well,
So you can ask a manager this, right? How do team members, besides like design critiques or besides one-on-ones, how do team members help each other level up their skills? In a sense, how do
oh,
they push each other? Do you have that kind of organization?
that's such
Two,
a great question.
it is, isn't it? And once again, you'll be surprised how people answer that question. Another one for for a manager is where's the business going? If you can talk about it, if it's not NDA, but where's the business going in like 1 year or 5 years? And how does the team fit into that, right? And you can see if they have vision as well. Because if this person has vision, then that's when you'll get somewhere. Ask them how they dealt with difficult situations. And of course, it's super broad, right? But you
Yeah.
can even use an example. What if your team is having a tete-a-tete with the product manager, and
Yeah.
in the deep, very deep in your heart that the PM is wrong, right? How do you
Yeah.
handle that situation? How do you have an honest conversation with someone that's not ready for prime time? In a
Yeah.
sense, they want to become a senior product designer, or they want to become a manager, or they want to do a certain project, but they're just not there yet. How do you have those honest conversations? So now you're creating this dialogue, and you're answering like these super complex questions that managers will really get happy about, right? And really get and really feel great about. And I think when you're asking these hard questions, it just makes you look better as a candidate. And even if you don't get the job, there's just going to be something ingrained within them because now you're making them think, right? That okay, maybe I do need to step my game up in other different areas.
Yeah, no, this is amazing, and honestly, if you're a junior designer watching, listening, and if you dare to ask even one of those questions, you might actually stand out because you asked it. It not be well, if you scare them away because you asked it, it's not the right culture right off the bat, and also like you said, how they answer it is so telling. For example, many years ago, I interviewed with a very famous big tech company, and I was very excited. But then when I went to the interview, I did 5 rounds of interview, and each round I keep discovering that red flags all over the place because everyone seems so unmotivated, miserable, and also they couldn't really answer my questions, and they just gave me some really broad answers, right? And basically all the questions that they asked me were repetitive. It means they're disorganized. They made me interview 5 times just to ask me the same questions, speak it to 5 people. I think probably a lot of candidates can relate to that. Can't be the only time it happened, right?
You know what? On this call, matter of fact, why don't we turn it back on the companies that's interviewing too, right? On the kind of
Yeah.
questions that they can ask candidates. So, for example, and Stella, I'm so glad that you mentioned it, and I'm not going to go that deep into it. Maybe we can go deeper into
Yeah.
it on an episode. So,
Later. Yeah.
Tanner Christensen, right? I think he's starting this thing that helps bridge the gap between candidates and companies finding,
Mhm.
the right match for each other, which is
Yeah.
super cool. And he's even interviewed me and asked me to speak about this on a podcast. So, Tanner, if you're listening,
Oh, awesome.
here it is. But I told him that a lot of companies, if they really want candidates, and I've seen some companies that do this, why are you asking a candidate, why do you want to work here? That's a lazy ass question, right? Why are you having a candidate go through a recruiter when it's not benefiting the candidate's time? Now, don't get me wrong, I met some amazing recruiters that's in tune with the design team, right? But
Mhm.
recruiters that don't necessarily care, you're just using them to screen, like that doesn't need to happen. You need to cut that from the interview process, especially if they're asking, like you said, repetitive and generic
Yep.
questions. I
Yep.
think second, not asking the candidate why you want to work here, but telling them, oh, I looked at your background. I looked at X, Y, and Z. I looked at this podcast that you did. This is why I think you will be a good fit for the team. Really communicates, right, to that candidate that you really care
Yeah.
about them. And yes, I've had some employers do that, which is super impressive. There's also the thing of employers just asking meaningful questions. So, for example, when you think about portfolio reviews, and this is going back to the main discussion of this conversation, right? Does it really need to be an hour long? Because I'm just thinking, I'm going to be honest, Stella, that if I was a hiring manager, I would not want to sit in like hour long portfolio reviews of like 40 candidates that I'm screening a year. That's a lot
Exactly.
of time being wasted. So
You
there's
could have.
this company.
Yeah.
There's this
You could
company.
have
Oh,
done
go
it
ahead.
before, right? Like
Yeah.
basically you're wasting people's time. And obviously you do want to know if the candidate is eloquent, is good in presentation skills, but do you really need to see the whole movie? I think the trailer is enough.
Yeah. So,
Right?
so there's this one company, can't say the name once again,
Yeah.
just out of respect for this person, but he told me at his organization, his manager hates seeing like 15 to 20-minute portfolio reviews.
Mm.
What they normally do is they have a discussion, a 5-minute discussion about the project. And it's not on the pixels, right? It's not on the, process or anything. It's mainly on tell us about the problem that you had, tell us some of the
Yeah.
barriers that was non-design related that you
Mhm.
had to face, and then what was the outcome of that. And if a person can articulate that in 5 minutes, that's
Yeah.
super impressive, right? Like when
Exactly.
you think about it.
You know why?
And
Because if they can't explain it in 5 minutes or even 2 minutes, they don't understand it. That's
yeah.
what people have always
Mhm.
said, and it's true. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like just so short design presentations, right? Because you're asking yourself, if I know all of this about this person, if they work at this company, right, and I've seen their skills that they've done within the community, do I necessarily need to evaluate them on this? Probably no. If I've done my research, right, if I'm asking the right questions as well. In a sense, as a manager. So I think just with leadership on the flip side, it's asking the right questions. It's showing that you're human, right? And you're not treating this person like a product. You're treating them like a human being instead of a candidate. And you're, super caring about them. And also, I'm at a startup, super busy, right? So when you're at a startup, a lot of times, people don't want to work around your time because there might be people that's super busy, right? Have kids and all of that. Companies, once again, that's super good. What they'll do is say, we can meet you on your time. Do you want to meet at 8 o'clock? I'm down for that. Do you want to meet at 5 o'clock in the morning? Like, let's do that, right? So just kind of going above and beyond for candidates and making sure that their needs are met. It's not rocket science at all. And I've seen a few organizations do that, but if a lot more can do that with user experience and kind of make the process lean and kind of adjust the way that they're going to interview someone, then that would be great. So for a junior designer, in my opinion, Stella, one more thing I want to mention, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to agree with this and clap, but I don't necessarily think you need to be doing whiteboarding or take home design challenges or even like probing for like business acumen with junior folks. I don't. I mean, it's a good way to stand out
It's
because
ridiculous.
yeah, they don't have that experience. And I even think with whiteboarding, it just comes with experience, and it comes with experience on you getting better at problem solving and all of that. And I think with junior candidates, a lot of companies just need to start looking for different stuff, not necessarily why you want to work here or who's the most passionate, right? But mainly, is this person going to be a great fit? Let's just ask them some creative questions, right? Let's
Yeah.
have like a session where we're really digging deep into their understanding of certain things as well on like a surface level, right? With the way that it works. Let's see someone, in my opinion, I think visual design, and I think you're going to agree, is fair game, right? Which
Yeah.
junior has the best, visual chops as
Yeah.
well? Which one put a lot of time and dedication into crafting a narrative, right? On why they got into design. Like these should be the thing instead of, oh, you got to do this whiteboarding. Oh, app critiques too. Junior product designers do not need to do that because having product thinking skills, once again, this is for someone over 4 to 5 years of experience. And once
Yeah.
again, this might be a person that's working at a mature design organization because product
Exactly.
thinking really takes time to learn. So I'm just going to stop right there and step down.
I love it. I love it. I think junior designers are going to be so, relieved, or I don't know. It's kind of cathartic to hear you speak that, because I bet a lot of them are frustrated. They're like, well, there's no way for them to learn all of that in school, no matter what school you went to. You
Hmm.
went to the top art school in the world, fine. You went to a boot camp, same thing. You can't have business acumen without actually being in a business environment. And honestly, relating back to your mentioning of why do you want to work for us, in my opinion, I think that question, it sounds like they're fishing for a clap in the back. They're fishing for compliments from candidates. They're like, oh, I want to hear how amazing my company is and why are you so desperate to work here, right? I mean, it's just such a cringe-worthy questions most of the time. I mean, I understand. On the other hand, maybe you can kind of filter out the candidates that didn't do their homework, right? Obviously, if they don't even know what you do, you don't hire them. But most people will reveal themselves if they did not do the research in a later question. So let's just keep that question out of the equation, to be honest. But I think this is such a great point that you sound like you have something else to say. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
I'm
like
just gonna say, just skip the recruiter altogether. Once again, if that recruiter doesn't
you.
have any purpose for screening, right? That same talk about compensation can just happen with the hiring manager, to be completely honest, because they're
Yeah,
going to take notes anyway, right? And they're going to pass it along to the recruiters when you think about it. It's like
yeah,
just make the process lean, just skip it. Really be smart on what you're looking for, because the irony of it is, it's like you can't problem solve how to make a better interview, but you're problem solving how to make a complex flow, right? In a working team process together. You have experience in that, so I just want to point that out.
yeah. No, I agree. You're probably gonna offend some recruiters, but but I agree with you on leaning up. Kind of like making the process a bit more just not as redundant, because I
Yeah.
think a lot of organizations, they just waste people's times and it creates more frustrations. And now I feel like it's so interesting that ghosting is a word in the hiring process now, which really, even 5, 10 years ago, you can't, well, you would think that's only restricted to dating apps, but it's not. Now we're all kind of flaky. We're all kind of wasting each other's time. And at the end of the day, nothing gets done. But getting back to the point of what we're discussing today is, okay, so some of the companies are shooting out of their leagues when they want a unicorn that does everything but only pays them one salary. On the other hand, as a junior designer, or even just designer in general, when you're trying to join a company, definitely ask those questions about their design culture. Not necessarily in this way that says, "Oh, what's your design culture?" Right? That's kind of a little abrupt. Like Carrie said, you can phrase it as sort of a scenario, like, "Oh, if this happens, what do you do in your organization?" So you can tell if they even have this prepared in their head. But yeah, no, this is super amazing. We're, I guess, quite right on time. And I'm super excited for another episode with you where we don't censor ourselves and just talk about hot issues that enrages us, or, kind of make us feel, I don't know, one, cringeworthy, or second, excited, or it can be anything. But I can't wait to invite you back. Okay, Carrie, thank you so much for your time today. We'll see everybody again very soon.